Let's battle Paris. Pikachu, Thundershock. Oh, maybe just a teeny static bolt? Oh, this is a tough one. What am I supposed to do now? Let's listen to the podcast while we figure this out. Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is The Trainer's Guide.
Today's episode,
The Problem with Paris. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 41.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first episode we're recording after the news of Rachel Lillis passing away. Next week is the Jigglypuff episode, so we figured we would spend more time talking about her. I have to say, it's, it's just a little bit soon for me to talk about everything. But it's been so wonderful to hear from everyone online through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, emails that people have sent. It's been really wonderful how we've all been able to connect and celebrate Rachel's life. So next week and for weeks and weeks after, we'll continue to do so. But thank you all for supporting her and just being all around amazing. Okay, so shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we find our heroes. I guess they get to a town. I don't remember if it had a name.
Moss Green Village.
Is that what it said?
Yes.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's too small. It's so small that it doesn't have a gym.
That's right.
Is what we know.
So, and we see that Brock is emptying out his potion and antidote bag, which is empty, which I didn't really realize they had that.
Well, I know that you use that like in the games, but I've never seen them use it in the show before.
No, me neither.
So it's an interesting
I thought that was
thing.
Great.
And it's kind of an interesting thing that they're out of antidote and potions, and then Meowth is sick. It's kind of an like a weird.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting.
I thought one thing that was great is that they decide they're going to take a break, and Ash wants a cheeseburger, Misty wants to go to a nice restaurant, and there's all these things that are so kind of normal and real, even though we haven't had any kind of normality in a while. They've just been on the road.
Right. Also, I love that you think you might be able to go to a fancy restaurant in a town that doesn't even have a gym.
I know, and they don't even have money.
Well,
so I don't know. Maybe they'll barter something.
Yeah, she's got big dreams.
Yeah,
that's
she
the
does.
thing. She's always thinking big. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I love their bickering in this. I think, first of all, everybody in this episode has some really great lines. And there's some really funny stuff with Team Rocket. And this one is, speaking of normality, they're very animated, Team Rocket, in this episode.
Yes.
And I even think everyone is, actually. They have a little more energy and get to be themselves a little bit more.
Yeah, and even though, like, the episode moves along in a different way because I think the energy is kind of up, so it kind of keeps it going. Even though there's not like a lot that happens in the episode, but I do think we get a lot of good variety with the characters. Yeah. And then sometimes you don't. Like sometimes it's like even in one of the last ones with the two teams, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But even that was more about helping them figure out that, I don't really want to say gang war, but you know what I mean? Like figure out that fight rather than like, it's not a lot of character development. So this one, it's more focus on the character.
So we see Team Rocket with their kind of feverish Meowth.
Yeah.
And we see that they're willing to just leave Meowth.
Right, because
in terms of
lives.
Character development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mean. But this is the thing with Team Rocket is that they always say, I think they're a great example of like they speak before they think, right? And they also just think only about themselves. But then when somebody points out that flaw, then they're like, oh yeah, you're right. So like even for this, like they always accept, they always learn. They don't necessarily like apply that to the next thing, but they always they're very self-aware in a way. Like they can take judgment.
Right. I see that.
You know, because
judgment, criticism, direction.
Maybe not well, but they definitely sometimes can acknowledge that they're not great, you know?
Right.
Because,
and in this case, Cassandra, she comes by and to cure Meowth, and she's the one who's telling them that they're useless and mean, essentially.
They say we're the Team Rocket super squad. So they say we're superheroes. And she says, like, you're super lame or something if you would let your Pokemon, you know, if you would just leave your sick Pokemon there. And then they're like, yes, you're right.
You're right. I know. And luckily, Cassandra has the herbs that are needed to cure Meowth right away.
Yeah.
I love how she uses the mortar and pestle right on the spot and just cures Meowth. It's amazing.
Yeah. And in doing so, Meowth, it falls in love with Cassandra. So Meowth, because she's caring for him and all this kind of stuff. And so then Meowth is, you know, enamored. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just goes to show you the power of taking care of someone. Yeah. You know, to show some kind of empathy or sympathy, and she just rushes in and cares. I mean, there are some doctors who do that and some who don't. Yeah. And you want to find someone who really will give you all of their attention and cure you. Right, exactly. Or at least take major steps toward it. Yeah. So she's pretty wonderful. We get back to the potion shop. Yes. And find the grandmother there, who's quite masculine, I think. I always thought during this episode that the grandmother was going to, like, rip off this cape or hood that she's wearing, and we find out she's someone else. But it was just a very masculine-sounding grandmother.
She's very, her voice is very deep. And
but I think it was a guy.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought it might have been Maddie.
I don't know. I have no idea.
That was my guess, because it she kind of had some Meowth, you know.
Oh, interesting.
That was my. I was gonna say if we were guessing who was who or that, but it could have been just a random guy.
I'll go back and re-listen.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? No one knows. There's no way to ever know.
We'll never know. That's our joke, by the way. Out, if you're not catching
we'll never know.
That's what we like to say to things now. We'll never know. There's no way of knowing.
There's no way to know.
Nope. Exactly.
Well, what we do know is that Cassandra wants to evolve her Paris. Yes. Because the mushrooms on its back are rare. And when it becomes a parasect, she can make this new potion that can basically save the world. Right. Save all Pokemon everywhere. Yeah. That's a high aspiration to have.
It's high, and it's also hard because she's like, okay, Paris. So you have to battle to gain experience to then evolve. We learn in this episode. And the more battles you do, the more experience you gain, and then, you know, the easier it is or the quicker it is to evolve. And so she's trying to get Paris to battle, and Paris is a big scaredy cat. It does not want to battle. It's afraid. And she keeps being like, okay, Paris, this is your chance. Like all of the Pokemon of the world are counting on you. And I was like, this is why it doesn't want to battle. It's because you're putting so much pressure. Like,
it's stressed out.
It's so stressed. I would be stressed too. So I know. But that never gets, I don't know. This episode's a little weird to me. They don't address that. But she never apologizes for making it so stressed out. But it's so stressed. You know, like,
I see this has touched a nerve.
Well, I don't know. I just think it's unfair to push Paris into something that it doesn't necessarily want to do.
I totally agree with that. And I think that is a recurring theme in this kind of forced evolution, in that we can't really force people to do anything. You have to take things at your own speed. Right. And so in this case, they say, okay, we'll battle Paris, but it doesn't really work. Like the slightest touch, even when Pikachu uses the static bolt, Paris just kind of goes in on itself and rolls over.
Yeah.
I know.
It does not do it. But both Pikachu and Ash's Squirtle try to kind of they're still trying to have a battle with Paris, but letting Paris win. And then Ash calls Charmeleon. And Charmeleon, which I was like, why would you do that anyway? Because we learned that Paris is a grass type. So why doesn't Misty battle? Because Misty and water is weak against grass or something, right? So like why doesn't Misty only has water Pokemon?
Well, I think that's a really good point, and one that's never addressed in this because it's Ash battles, and that's it.
Yes.
So we don't know. But Charmeleon is not having it.
No.
Charmeleon is on its own path.
As they say, and out of control.
Yes.
And it doesn't listen to Ash. And so Ash is like, don't, take it easy. And Charmeleon essentially says no. And barbecues Paris.
Barbecues everyone in this episode.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, this is kind of you have a child, and up until it's about, let's say, 10 to 12, you get along with it. You go out and do stuff. You've had all these great adventures, and the minute it turns into a teenager, it won't have anything to do with you anymore. Doesn't listen. Does its own thing, and you kind of wonder, did anything that we did before matter?
Yeah.
And so I feel like the Charmeleon has hit the teenage stage, the really bad teenage stage.
And even Ash says that of like, I was happy when Charmander evolved, but I don't think I was ready for it. And that's a big thing to say because that's exactly it. Like, you're excited to see your Pokemon, your children, your friends grow, but you're not necessarily... You're never ready for that change. And so
not unless you're able to work it together, to really discuss it. I mean, Charmeleon just popped into its evolution and then became its own thing.
Yeah.
With a child, you can still sit every night and talk or read books, or even with your puppy, as it's getting bigger and kind of can't sit on your lap anymore, at least you've kind of worked every day to get to that point. Charmeleon just evolved, which is why I think all of us say, maybe you shouldn't get Paris to just evolve right this second.
Yeah.
Maybe you really should ease into it.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
it
that's
runs
not
away.
to happen here.
It runs away, and Meowth basically catches it. And Meowth, because he's in love with Cassandra, decides to help Paris evolve so that, if Paris evolves, then Cassandra will get Meowth and take him in, and he can live the rest of his 9 lives with her. So romantic. And
just lovely.
So lovely.
He needs someone to care for him so much.
I know. So he tries to convince Team Rocket, or Jesse and James, I should say, to help with this. And basically the thing that gets them to do it is because he says, if Paris evolves and she can make this potion, she'll make billions of dollars, and then she'll make me the company mascot, and you guys can be my managers.
It's a great plan.
Which is such a roundabout thing, but I love it. It is a good plan.
Me too.
And so he says, give me Arbok and Weezing, because they're bigger losers. Well, James says they're bigger losers than the guy that invented homework.
Which I totally agree with.
Classic, yes.
You know what I just heard? Michael Moore actually is doing a documentary, and he went to Sweden. And in Sweden, they don't have homework.
What?
And they were saying that the kids, they really value playing outside, playing sports, music, dance, all of that kind of stuff. They really value that over sitting in the classroom. And then to the bigger point, sitting at home doing more homework.
Yeah.
And the kids all speak 2, 3, 4 languages. They know so much because what they're doing is in school, they are really learning. And then they go out and apply it. So anyway, I can really identify with the bigger loser than the guy who invented homework. Because I do think we all need to be in the world more. Anyway,
Yeah.
and also they were saying dropping the standardized test. The kids in Sweden were saying that. Anyway, we all know
they're
that.
Geniuses, because they've been playing outside all this time.
I know.
All that
I know.
nice
Well,
Swedish air.
That's it.
Yeah, making your brain smart. But that's the thing. I mean, homework, the idea of it, I think in premise, the idea is good in terms of giving you something to kind of practice. Like, okay, you have your piano class, and then the week before or the week leading up to your next lesson, you practice. But
right,
and that's homework. But how it's become now at school is so much bigger than that, and again, it's like so much work that you have to do on your own, especially, and then it's just a ton. And then we're all like Paris, running around crying because we're too overwhelmed.
Hey, right. That's curling up in a ball and rolling away.
Yes.
And then just not being able to function, not being able to be your best.
Exactly. If only we all had a coach like Meowth. Because Meowth does this great thing where Arbok is like gonna battle Paris. And so Meowth keeps stepping in and basically like, hitting them with a tree or stepping on its tail or something to knock them out. So Paris's eyes are closed, and then when it opens them, Arbok and Weezing are both defeated. And so it gets really
and it
confident.
Sees that it won.
Yeah, it starts getting confident. It beats Meowth, which confidence. And then it beats Meowth by poking Meowth. So
and Meowth just falls over and waves the white flag of surrender.
Right.
Which is brilliant.
Yes. So it does that. And then I think Ash, so by that point, Paris is
They all have found Paris.
Yeah, everybody comes back and Ash is like, okay, let's battle. And I think Paris goes to Pikachu first. And I think Pikachu also does the little white flag.
Yes, that's right. Also, Team Rocket shows up as the Pokemon Pep Squad.
Right.
So they're there to kind of cheer on their Paris.
Right.
And so Charmeleon comes out.
Yeah, again.
At the very end. Yeah.
Which is so crazy.
Well, interestingly, though, Paris doesn't fully back down and pokes Charmeleon.
Yep.
And wins.
Yeah, I know. And then it evolves.
Yeah, evolves just like that.
Which, this is the thing that I don't love about this episode, is that I'm all for letting Paris gain confidence. But this kind of, and again, it's not, I just feel like the idea of battling, gaining experience, you have to like do moves, right? Mm-hmm. But Paris hasn't done any of its moves. It just shut its eyes and then poked them. But it didn't like do any of its stuff. So how does that equate to gaining experience to evolve? Is it just the confidence?
I think so. I mean, in some ways, you have to have the confidence to try. So once the confidence built up, it was able to do some things. Like when I was thinking about this, I thought about when you were little and in the playground at school, they had that like the monkey bars thing that it's like the ladder that you go across hand going across. And in the very beginning, you couldn't do it, but I held on to you so you could so your whole weight wasn't hanging and you could get used to moving your hands the way it had to be. And then you could work on swinging your body and then you could do it.
That's right.
So it's similar that you get your confidence up. And also, what about all those gymnasts? They work on those balance beams on the floor. And then it starts getting higher and higher. So I think it kind of goes with that. You build up confidence as you're learning kind of what the steps are, and then you can put it all together. I don't know. I'm trying to say.
That makes sense.
Because this is a good way because poor little Paris.
I know. Because I was looking at it as like, one of those things where everybody gets a ribbon. Which I'm all for.
I agree with.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. I'm all for it. But in the same way, I'm like, Paris isn't actually doing anything. So why are we rewarding this behavior? Because it's not it's not doing anything. So I'm happy for it to gain confidence, but then maybe now it can actually do battles, But it doesn't. It just
I
evolves.
totally agree.
That's all.
It evolves, and then it uses Spore Attack and knocks out Charmeleon.
Yeah.
So it has kind of evolved in its thinking and battling skills.
Yep, totally.
In a way.
I agree with you.
It shows you that we all learn in different ways.
That's true.
And we all need people who can support us and kind of see, like, one person learns differently than another, and we need people around to support all those different ways of learning.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm pulling it out. On the surface, this Parasect thing is a little confusing.
It was just weird, but
if we dig under,
I like your, especially the monkey bars. That really hits home with me. So I like that.
You and your friend, we would stand out there and
all
work
those
on
calluses.
that together. I know, all those calluses.
Yeah. I think something interesting. I think something interesting also that happens is the grandmother. So Charmeleon is doing its own thing when it gets called out again. And I love that Charmeleon's doing its own thing. Is it just like doing little flame stuff? Like it just is like, like flame. I just think that's so funny. Anyway, and the grandmother says that a trainer needs experience too. Otherwise, the Pokemon won't respect it. And so this is the beginning of, Charmeleon, Charizard, not respecting Ash because it's not a strong. He's not a strong enough trainer. So that's the thing. Everybody needs experience. The Pokemon need experience. The trainer needs experience. So, but I would think that Ash. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Ash says that losing on purpose was the toughest thing he's had to do.
Yeah.
And the grandmother says, well, you'll keep losing if you don't bring up your skill level.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to that point, you can't just rely on your outside tools. You always have to be kind of bringing up your own skill level, whether that's in, learning a new language or keeping up with your reading or staying in touch with people. All of that is our, real life skill levels. So the point is you have to keep learning, and you can't just rely on, other things and blame it on them.
Exactly. And then basically they leave, and because Charmeleon blasts Team Rocket away, which I think this episode is so fun because Team Rocket actually doesn't do anything bad. Like they just want Meowth to win so they can get the money down the line, but they don't actually try to do anything. And so they get blasted by Charmeleon just because Charmeleon is moody. And then Ash, Misty, Brock, they all leave, and they're like, good luck with your magic potion.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And then Team Rocket fall right back into Cassandra's little potion house.
Apothecary hut?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she treats them, and they have all their Band-Aids, and it's so cute. And Meowth is like, yeah, I guess you can make me your mascot now, and I can live with you. And she gets super upset because she's like, I would never take you away from Jesse and James. You guys are superheroes. You have to keep doing this thing. And anyway, it's so sad because Meowth doesn't want to do that.
And then the grandmother comes in with a Persian that she found out in the yard, which the only Persian we have we seen a Persian yet?
Yes.
Because Giovanni has the Persian.
We've only seen that one.
So
I thought he was going to show up.
In the flashbacky things.
I thought he was going to show up. I was like, oh my God, this is a twist. But it's not.
If Giovanni was around, this was a great episode to see how wonderful Team Rocket is.
Oh, yeah.
With them laying on the ground or in their costumes and doing all these things. It was a good episode for him to keep an eye on them.
Totally.
But they didn't achieve anything, so I don't know.
No. But again, they weren't trying to be fair. This was just like them hanging out. So I feel like that was good.
I think this episode does show us the power of healing, the power we each have to help others. And whether that's helping their heart to heal or their body to actually heal through medicine, herbs, or through support, through training. I think there's a great power that we all have in listening and reaching out. Cassandra just kind of popped in and really helped in all of this, and then they turned around and helped her. So I think we've learned that in this episode.
Yeah, and I think also like helping without want of anything in return.
Very
I mean,
good
that's the
point.
thing is like Cassandra just jumps into that, and she just wants to heal Pokemon, and you know, she just wants that, and she doesn't have any expectations of getting anything back. And I mean, even Meowth, Jesse and James want the money, but even Meowth wants to help just so he can be around her longer, which is so, you know, just
important.
Pure.
He's healed, and he's healed in that sense for his heart and feeling like he belongs.
Yeah.
So,
and Ash, you know, Ash, Misty, Brock, they always do that. They always jump into a situation without, you know, first thinking, well, what's in it for me, you know?
That's
and
right.
I think that's so important. And you can really see that, you know, it's just, you can just tell that people are, in that sense, good people when you know, there's no caveat. They just do it.
Yeah. It's a great lesson for us all to learn.
Definitely.
And take with us.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good time for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
We asked you to send in your favorite Pokemon memories, stories, and inspirations.
And here is this week's.
Hey, Veronica. Hey, Rena. I just want to say I love the podcast. Love going over these old episodes with you and the feeling it brings, the nostalgia and the love for Pokemon. I think it's amazing what a worldwide sensation it became, and the community we have because of it, and all the love that has gone towards this and to the people involved in it, especially with Rachel Lillis's battle with cancer and all the support we gave her through that. I'm very thankful as a community to be a part of that and to be able to give back to her. And thank you guys again for making this podcast.
Thank you, Matthew, for sharing that wonderful story with us. And we want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And try to keep it short, maybe 30 seconds or so, because we don't want to have to edit.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from.
Well, that about wraps up today's episode of The Trainer's Guide. And, as they say, to be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is The Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
the amazing Adrian Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.